So, thank you, and I'm now going to hand over to our first speaker, Rakesh. Go.
Fantastic. Hope everyone can hear me all right. Yeah. Look, you can never rehearse these things. I've not done one with a mic forever. So you got to bear with me on this one. Can I just say a big thank you to Kerry, Shivani for organizing such a wonderful event. And what a great venue. I was really impressed. It's my first time here and it was breathtaking. So I look forward to participating the entire day. Maybe not in the night, but let's see how it goes. So I'm Rakesh Parameshwara. I'm a director at ISG. I look after our banking and financial services sector for UK and Nordics. Before I make a start, I wanted to just have an engagement with you. So can you do a show of hands if you've used ChatGPT this week? Keep your hands up if you've used Copilot this week. Keep your hands up if you've copied something that AI has produced and put it in an email and haven't actually reviewed it fully. Oh, very impressive, very risk-aware audience. That's what I expected. So we've come a long way since the advent of ChatGPT in November of 2022. It's just been under 4 years. We've come a long way. The technology has grown leaps and bounds. We are truly in the digital age. I'm sure you would agree. We've never been in more interesting times in terms of a humankind and what we find ourselves in. The rise of the autonomous enterprise is a new era. It's an era where data is analyzed, data is reasoned with, decisions are made, actions are taken, not just in the digital world, but also in the physical world. How many of you have heard about the tractor company John Deere? Excellent, quite a few of you. I think there's no other company that epitomizes what an autonomous enterprise stands for more than John Deere. If you went and talked to a farmer a decade or so ago and told him, you know what, we're going to be having a tractor that possibly could drive itself, it could probably differentiate between what a weed is and what a crop looks like, it can probably enhance your productivity and grow more, the farmer would turn around and say, are you smoking, right? It is a fact, but here we are, the tractors of today are able to drive autonomously, completely driverless. They're able to use high-resolution cameras to detect a crop from a weed, and not just any weed, what type of a weed, and it's able to cure the weed using the right herbicide and enhance the productivity of the crop. And that's not it. It can also tell you when it's a bit tired and needs maintenance. That's fantastic. We've come a long way. So it's not just about the digital enterprise, it's the physical and the digital enterprise coming together that really is what makes it ever so interesting. Let's be clear, we live in a world where the enterprise AI is everywhere, right? We have driverless cars, we have warehouse robots, we have smart factories. It's literally there. We all see it, we all use it. There's a lot of pressure associated with it as well. But what we also need to realize that the smart watches we wear is also an autonomous enterprise because it looks after your health, it gives you insights, makes sure you are physically fit and able. It's the same with earpods, real-time translations. Can you believe it? A few years ago, we were all on Duolingo trying to learn new languages. It's pretty much a redundant app potentially in a year's time because you can have real-time translation. So again, it's a reflection of where technology has truly made a difference in our lives. And that's what I feel is driving the shift to the embracing of the enterprise and the AI in our day-to-day life. It's very clear. The boardrooms of today are tech savvy. They're asking for mandates from senior executives like yourself to drive AI adoption. And it's not just AI adoption, it should drive operational excellence. It should drive new product lines. It should drive new revenue models. It's not an easy ask, especially in the conventional infrastructure that we find ourselves in terms of our companies. While we might be tech savvy, our companies have not, because we've underinvested in technology all these years. I think there's a general recognition that it's an operating model shift that is required to embrace autonomous AI. The companies who are able to succeed, all the good use cases that we talked about, are the ones who ironed out the need to have better governance, the need to have better telemetry, the need to manage risks, the need to adopt change. It's quite a lot to do, right? However, we also see a lot of companies who are still, investing in POCs, POCs that are not returning any return on investments, and that's quite staggering to say the least. Because I was talking to a CEO, and his biggest problem was they've invested millions on AI POCs, and he hasn't seen one single net return on investments across the business. And that was a very mature financial services company. And that's quite staggering. I'm sure we're all, culprits when it comes to AI, because we don't realize how much tokens we're consuming. Even at ISG, we've all embraced our, AI. ChatGPT is pretty much embedded for all consultants. Our token prices have shot up, and we are now putting in controls to rein back, usage. So it's about using the right AI for the right use cases to drive the right ROI is the key to succeed. And unfortunately, that's not what we see in the market today at scale. AI has matured, but we got to realize we use AI far too loosely, which is why I'm trying to refer to the autonomous enterprise, because it's a bit much larger construct between the physical and the digital world. But if we break down AI simply and the tokenomics and the token overconsumption, it's because we're using frontier models to do day-to-day tasks. I was talking to a CEO the other week. She said they started monitoring AI, and some of the results are fascinating. People are using frontier models for dating advice. They're using frontier models to create cat videos. And I'm not even joking, right? Because they started monitoring, and this is what they found, that the employees are doing it. I was amazed because I thought, you know what, guys, that must be a joke, but it isn't. It's reality. It's a true use case that I came to know the other week, and I was blown away. And that's what I think is the problem. We need to, take a step back, reflect on what AI is, understand what are the different options we have in front of us. It could be LLMs, it could be small language models, it can be robotics, it can be machine learning. There is a plethora of AI. We've got to pick the right AI, the right tokenomics for the right use case. And that's what helps businesses drive return on investment from a strategic perspective. We've all invested heavily on platforms and ERPs in the past, spent millions, right, on ERP platforms, and spend millions trying to integrate them and talk to each other. You would agree, I think we are at a point where the core systems are talking to each other. It's not nirvana yet, and there's still a long way to go. But now that they're starting to talk together with the power of an enterprise AI, you are able to make meaningful decisions that differentiate you in the marketplace. And that's what we are doing at ISG. And I'm sure that's what you would like to do in your places of work as well. And I was talking about a mindset shift. I think that's the real big delta or the difference, right? We are no longer talking about labor arbitrage. That's in the past. We're talking about technology arbitrage. It's pretty much table stakes today. And that's a huge shift. It's a huge shift in buyer pattern. It's a huge shift in consumption. Yes, cloud got us onto the OpEx model, but OpEx is here to stay, especially in the age of AI. However, companies are asking more certainty in pricing models, and I'll touch on that shortly. And that's something that we're going to always dabble with. There is no consensus in the market. We will get to a consensus over the next year or two, but we have to do it today. We have to take our bets and make sure we do it strategically. We've talked about what AI can do, all the fun stuff, but let's be honest. AI isn't magic. There are lots of horror stories with AI. So I'll talk about a couple of examples that some of you might be familiar, especially the legal advisors here. So in New York, there was a couple of lawyers who were preparing for a case. They asked the AI to use past precedences and come up with a comprehensive report. That got submitted to the court, and then it got a huge rap on the knuckles. You know what? It was a comprehensive report, but it was made up fake precedences. So AI thought, I've been asked to make a report. It needs to look impressive. So he just made it up. And this has actually happened, right? And there's a PR implication, there's a legal implication, there's a lot there at stake. And that's something that we need to learn from and watch out for. A very similar example happened with Air Canada. There was a chatbot. It was a bereavement case, so quite sensitive. And the chatbot made up a refund policy. So this customer called up the customer care and said, "Look, I understand there's a refund policy. Can you help me with the refund?" And they rejected it. So it went to court, and guess what? Again, a big rap on the knuckles. They had to pay in full because an AI chatbot is part of the company. They are accountable for the decisions and the advice it gives. It's the same with the data. We all know data has been a bit of an orphan child in the boardroom in the last couple of decades. It was in the top 10, but never made it into the top 3. But I'm thankful with the advent of autonomous enterprise AI, data has finally got its moment in the spotlight. We're now seeing a convergence of IT and ops more than ever before. We are now seeing the office of the CDO being very relevant. That's not just sits under the CIO, it sits between a CIO and the business to drive strategic objectives. And that's a huge pivot. It's also created new jobs in the ecosystem. The office of the CDO, the chief AI officer, they're all net new jobs that didn't exist a year ago. So in the grand scheme of things, at least. And we all know, and I talked about this earlier, we've invested in AI. We're not seeing the ROI, but actually, when you look at it, it's a general pattern across enterprise companies that we're finding. There's huge investments happening in AI. We all do it. We at IST have done it. But are companies actually tracking return on investments? Do they have the right governance? Do they have the right risk guardrails? The answer is they're evolving. They're making it up on the go. So it's not done strategically. It's done more tactically. The leading companies do have a AI strategy. They have a risk governance framework, and they're adopting it head-on. But the majority of companies, honestly, are still making it up. And I think that's a symptom of a larger problem that we will find ourselves in the next 6 to 12 months solving together. So I talked about why now. There's obviously a FOMO, a fear of missing out. And I think that's driving all of us to push AI agendas aggressively. We learn. It's just like the cloud, right? And the robotics before it. Of course, AI is different. I do understand and embrace it. It will create a positive impact if done right. But we're moving at speed. I talked about ChatGPT was under 4 years ago. We've come a long way. We have to, as leaders, sometimes take a pause and reflect and think holistic. And I think that's what we're seeing as patterns. So we did a survey. One of the key observations was less than 1% of organizations are actually prepared for fully autonomous enterprise, right? And that's a collective piece. There is going to be an impact to the traditional jobs. However, there will be new jobs that will come about. Talked about the chief AI officer, talked about the chief digital officer. There will be AI governance roles, risk roles. These are all things that will need to be recalibrated and pivoted. So there will be impacts to 2P, of course, there will be. But I'm hoping that there's more repurpose happening. People are not being displaced, but being absorbed into better and greater things in the grand scheme of things. But we do see some impact. I think we can't shy away from that fact. We at ISG have absolutely embraced AI. So last couple of years, one of our biggest differentiation in the market, as you know, we're the leading sourcing, benchmarking, and research company. data is king. We've embraced AI, built platforms that sit over these data layers to help drive meaningful insights to our customers. What's really exciting is we also launched the AI Acceleration Unit earlier in the year, headed by Steve as the Chief AI Officer. And the idea is to drive AI innovation in the sourcing space. It's to look at AI maturity. It's to look at new commercial models, ALP, which I'll talk about shortly, autonomous level pricing, because we need to adapt and change with times. I think that's the key. The autonomous level pricing is very different from the way we consume resource units today. In the labor world, it's just a P times Q model. That's fantastic. It's great. It worked all these decades, but we need to adapt. We're moving into a world where we are consuming AI in different forms. So let me break this down in simple terms. ALP 0 for us is you driving down the road in a 1968 Ford Mustang with the windows down, fully manual, enjoying the breeze. It's a manual experience. That's level 0. Level 1 is really you driving, having your partner next to you, correcting the way you drive, telling you which direction to take. Jokes apart, it's having a GPS redirecting you. So I was on the M35, and the GPS was telling me which direction to take. That's what a level 1 is. There's some assistance to help make sure you're productive, but it's just appropriate. Level 2 is really where you're sitting in the back of the car, someone's driving it, but the car is equipped with auto assist, lane assist, auto park. It's a lot more upgraded. And that's what AL2 is. And level 3 is the Tesla experience, right? Obviously it's not legal here, but if you were in the US, you could technically sit in a Tesla, it'll drive you from point A to point B. However, you can always take control when you need it. So you still have a layer of intervention. Level 4 is the Waymo experience. So I know it's coming to us very soon, and I have signed up to the Uber. I might do it once. Not sure if I'll keep doing it in London. But the Waymo experience is the true autonomous experience. It's fully driverless, and it drives on its own. It makes the decisions, picks the route, the optimal route for you, and you can be totally productive in the backseat doing whatever you want. Watch Netflix, do your work, doesn't matter. It means you can repurpose and make your time more useful doing other things. We did a survey just to understand and get a bit of a temperature check around what leaders are thinking. It's very evident that 75% of the leaders are willing to invest in more autonomy use cases, because it is going to be expensive. I think that is just a kind of a pre-normer, because there is a cost to AI, and it's something that adds value much more so than humans do. There is absolutely a desire for predictable, pricing and commercial models. Let's be honest. The token prices are being passed to the clients at the moment. Everyone's working this through in the CapEx versus OpEx world. It's not an easy place for a CFO or a COO to be, because budgets are being blown out of the water in 6 months, let alone end of the year. And that's why leaders are also recognizing it's not just the commercials, but it's the controls and the risk that needs to sit on it. Especially, a lot of us here are part of regulated industries or operate in regulated industry. It is important to make sure we do think holistic. We do think about AI being adopted in a risk-free environment. And we'll never do away with hallucinations. We're never going to do away with a number of issues with AI. All we can do is embrace it, make sure we understand, provide the auditability, understand what's being built, test robustly, make sure there's controls in place to be able to at least intervene when we know it can go wrong. It's very clear, 30% of executives think the pricing models today are just not relevant. It needs to change. The P times Q just doesn't work. And 80% of executives believe autonomy will reshape commercial models and commercial strategies in the future. I think it'll drive more certainty by getting providers to pick up a bit more in terms of the skin in the game, but it'll be a balancing act in the next 2 to 3 years, in my view. So, in short, we live in interesting times. We've never lived in an era where technology has evolved at this pace. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity if we embrace it with the right construct and the right mindset. So I just want to conclude by saying, remember, the autonomous enterprise is useful when you have a top-down strategy, when you're thinking holistic, when you're thinking there's a need to embed governance, risk, change management, training. That's when it's really powerful. And finally, don't use for AI simply for everything. Don't use frontier models for everything. I have a strategy, I have a tiering approach. Make sure you select the right models for the right use cases. And more importantly, it's about understanding that AI investment should be focused entirely on differentiating you in the marketplace. It should drive an operational excellence. It should drive new product lines. It's to, more importantly, generate more revenue for your firm. It is not to manage your commodity services. That's what some of the bigger providers and technology service providers are there for. They have huge investments. Capitalize on the commodity stuff and invest on the strategic stuff. And that's what I would like to leave you with today. Any questions at this stage? If not, I'm happy to stay around and just have a chat later on in the day.
For speed, do you want to just shout? Yeah.
Yeah. So on the ARP side, you mentioned obviously people are going to expect that the prices will be higher. But how are the executives seeing how much more compared to the traditional fee times you are willing to go on the ARP?
I think it's an evolution, to be honest. It's a journey that we're starting to educate our clients on at the moment. The market's still not quite there in terms of understanding what it is, right? So we are starting to educate clients. We're going on that trajectory. There is an appreciation that there's a cost to AI. I think the way it's being positioned in the market, and this is just being open and honest about it, is all the AI story is being sold as you get all of that, 40% savings, whatever it is, but you have to pay the cost of AI tokens for the back end. So it's being decoupled. And we're going to see that convergence as more leaders realize there's a need to drive certainty for the longevity of the data, not just the commercial forcing that helps us get things over the line in short term. And I think that's going to be a gradual journey. We are at the crossroads and we're all working through it. Because think about agentic AI. Pricing agentic AI is very complicated. And I think that's where forum like this, advisors like yourselves, we come together, try and share and cultivate those ideas and opinions so we can drive some consistent methodologies in the market.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you we're out of time, but thank you so much, Rakesh. I'm sure you get loads and loads of questions in the break.